Hello, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of Unlearn with Bianca. If you're new around here, then welcome. We are going to get straight into it today. This episode is coming to you guys a little bit late. I'm just on the back of a cold, so I wanted to wait until everything had passed. Before we get into today's episode, I want to do some shout outs, some housekeeping. So next Sunday, I am running a in-person event in Christchurch alongside Amy Shaw. Amy was on this podcast at the end of last year and everybody loved her episode. Amy is a spiritual mentor, a Reiki practitioner, amongst a whole lot of other things. So we are going to be doing a 90-minute immersive at the Cove here in Christchurch. It's on Sunday, the 22nd of March. We've called it the Feminine Reset, and this is exactly what it will be. I'll be guiding the group through brain and nervous system exercises to help you soften in your body, to get you thinking a bit differently. And Amy will be leading the group through some activations and release work. This is going to be a beautiful space for us to pause, for you to receive, and most importantly, just connect with a community of like-minded people. So if this sounds like it is up your alley, just head to the show notes and I've put a link with all the information you need. Tickets are about $40. Actually, Amy put this on her Instagram last night and within 24 hours we've had over half of the tickets sold. So get in there quick. There will only be, I think, 5 remaining and I'd love to see you guys there. The other thing I wanted to share was I have 1 or 2 spaces available on my lightning process trainings end of March and April. So I will put those dates again in the show notes. You can check that out. You can also head to my website and look at all the testimonials of clients that have had amazing changes that are so inspiring, both with their mental health and with their physical health. Okay, guys, let's get into today's episode. Today we're talking about the single mental attribute that can make you richer, it can make you smarter, it can make you healthier, more creative. It brings health benefits, it boosts performance. It is confidence. It is the attribute of confidence, something we can all build. It is essential in so many instances. So when we're talking confidence in terms of social and relationships, it could be setting boundaries with people, having the confidence to do that. It could be public speaking. It could be dating and putting yourself out there. Physically, we build confidence if we are going to the gym the first time, if we're trying a new hobby or sport. Or it could be the confidence in the way that you carry yourself physically, how you dress, what you wear. There is confidence in putting your ideas out there creatively. And most importantly, it's that inner confidence. For me, that confidence, when I'm thinking about it, it refers to making decisions without second guessing myself. It refers to saying no without guilt and trusting my own opinion, doing things comfortably by myself. These are all examples of areas and things we can build confidence in, and there's so many more, of course. So I wanted to share something recently, a conversation that I had that actually sparked this episode. I was with a friend last week. We were having a good catch up, and I suggested to her about having an honest conversation with somebody that she was progressing with romantically. And she was so scared to share her honest feelings from this vulnerable place. And the thought of it for her was like completely out of her comfort zone. And she said, yeah, I know I need to do that, but it's easy for you to say because you're confident in that area and you can handle it. You can handle the rejection. And that made me laugh and pause because, yes, on one sense, I have built over time a deep assurance in myself, especially in relationships around my worth and what I value. But I said to her, do you think that that skill was always there? Absolutely not. I can tell you that now. Absolutely not. I would be queen at avoiding difficult, vulnerable conversations. So where did that confidence come from? It came from many times of having the courage to have shaky conversations, moving through the feelings of what if they don't understand me? What if I get hurt again? What if they reject me? You know, those thoughts didn't go anywhere, yet I still showed up doing the next thing. Each time I did that, my brain and my nervous system slowly learned I can handle this, I can survive this, and most importantly, I can trust myself. It was the same when I was recovering from chronic illness. Do you think I initially had the confidence that I could get well? Definitely not. It took a lot of searching for other people's success stories. It took a lot of putting the reps in, retraining my brain, retraining my nervous system. And slowly the confidence and the competence started to pick up. So confidence is something that can be developed. With every new level, there is a new devil. What has been so evident to me over the years is whenever you step into the next level of your life or doing something that feels a bit foreign, limiting beliefs will come up. You will be tested, and a whole wave of thoughts and beliefs will suddenly arise. Because beliefs quietly run in the background, most of the time you don't even notice them, especially if you're doing autopilot day in, day out, doing things you're really comfortable in that feel predictable. But the moment you try something new or do something new, these hidden beliefs get triggered, and that wound of I'm not confident enough or I can't do this, that becomes louder. Take starting a business, for example. I did not think before I started a business that I had imposter syndrome until I actually started one. And then as you move through business, those business owners out there will understand there are different doubts that start to appear. My wounds start to come up around being seen and sharing my truth. In a work sense, it could be the same, like you're applying for a new role, and before you apply, you might think you're capable and ready. But the moment you step forward into that role, those thoughts come up. They're going to see I'm not qualified. What if I can't handle the responsibility? What if I'm not good enough? So this is really interesting thing to think about, because I think a lot of people stop at those thoughts. Self-confidence is actually developed in that bridge, in the unknown, towards the future. It's not about stopping at those beliefs. It's actually about taking actions forward anyway. That is where we develop confidence in any area. So let's actually talk about the neuroscience of confidence, because I want to back this up with the science. Most people have it backwards because they wait to feel confident before they act. And this was the way I saw it for many years. The problem with this approach is that confidence doesn't just magically appear. It grows through experience. It grows through proof. It grows through actually showing up. If we're waiting to feel confident before we take action, that then leads to hesitation. It leads to avoidance. It leads to overthinking and delaying. And when you don't act, the brain never gets new evidence. I lived my life like this for so long, almost held hostage by waiting for the perfect time. If you never act, there's no evidence, there's no update. And then this creates this negative loop, like a neural loop that actually weakens confidence instead of building it. Your brain is constantly asking, it's constantly predicting. And the question it's asking is, can I handle this? Those predictions that it's basing that question on can only change through action, not through thinking about taking action. You guys with me so far? The key word is action. When you step forward, even if you're uncertain or if you're afraid, your brain gets new data. It gets the data and the input of I did it, I handled it, I tolerated discomfort, and this new data creates prediction errors in the brain, and that increases neuroplasticity, which we talked about a few episodes ago, which is your brain's ability to change. Your brain actually learns action is more manageable than my fear that I've anticipated. So taking that consistent action reduces the threat response over time, and it increases our tolerance for uncertainty and strengthens our sense of I can handle this. I like to think of it as like we're stretching that window of being able to be with discomfort. You don't learn how to swim by watching people swim. You learn how to swim by getting in the water and doing the thing. And actually another quote that I came across, which was very similar, was opportunity dances with those on the dance floor. Essentially, you've got to be in it. You've got to start. And that's where things build. Something else I wanted to add from a neuroscience perspective that I found really interesting. Neuroscientist Ian Robertson does a lot of work around confidence. And he says it's not just the feeling of being brave and positive. It's about how two core beliefs line up in your brain. So The belief of I can do this is one of them. And that has to also be lining up alongside it is possible and it can happen. When both of these beliefs are present, your brain literally supports you to take action because dopamine rises, anxiety drops, and you feel that forward momentum. So I want to share with you guys some things that really help me build my own confidence. I want to give you a bit of a pep talk and do it by thinking about where my mind goes to if I'm lacking confidence. When I need a boost, what do I think about? Okay. So the first point, which I think about often, is if not now, then when? Life is short, like actually very short. And I know you've heard this before because we talk about it a lot. It's one of those things that people say and you nod along and then you go straight back to scrolling, or you hear about it, you think about it for 5 minutes and then you carry on. But I actually need you to sit with this for a moment. I'm not saying it to be motivational. I'm saying it because I have lived it, especially through grief, losing the person I love the most, thinking that there would be more time. And one of the things that really stays with you, well, has stayed with me, is watching someone I love so much leave this earth with dreams still inside them. Oh, that actually makes me a bit emotional saying that. Dreams and goals and things that they didn't get to do because they weren't expecting to go so early. Things that they hadn't tried because they were waiting for the right time, or they didn't have enough confidence, or, whatever they thought they needed before they tried something first. When my mum died, I promised myself that I would live a life where I did my best not to do that, not to put things off. Something that really fuels my confidence and courage is knowing that I'm making these decisions to take action, not only for myself, but I'm also healing generations of women in my family who actually never had the opportunity to do certain things that they liked, that they were curious about, due to what was expected of them in their timeline or in their generation. Yes, I connect into my mum, but I also think about my gran, who was only able to do certain careers, even though she loved science, she loved maths, and she encouraged us to get into education and be academic. She was limited to what she could do in her generation. So again, all these unlived things and untapped potential. So with that in mind, I used to look at challenges, starting anything new, having a difficult conversation, starting this podcast. I used to look at them thinking, oh, I have to do this. I don't know if I can do this. But somewhere along the way, I started flipping it, and I now see these things as I get to do this. I get to challenge myself. I get to try. So when you can really see it as a privilege to do new things and to take action, that can be a great way to build that momentum with confidence. The ability to make new choices, to take risks, to take steps forward to create the life you want, that is a privilege. It's not something everyone gets. And I think if you can use that in the right way, that understanding, then it can really propel you forward. There are people out there that would give anything for the opportunities that are sitting right in front of you. I think about this all the time. And yes, I'm human, so I lose my perspective too. Of course I do. It's human to feel tired. It's human to feel scared. And maybe now is not the right time. But when I come back to it, back to that sense of why not me and why not now, it really shifts everything. Because remember, confidence doesn't come from certainty. It comes from stepping into the unknown, proving to yourself again and again that you can handle what comes next. Now let's talk about the fear of other people, because this one is real. And this is what I think stops a lot of people doing the hard things. What's an example? I want to start running. I don't know where that example come from, because for me personally, I don't have any interest in starting running. But let's take it as an example. I want to be confident and I want to be a runner. But what if they judge me? Or I want to share my controversial opinions. This is something I've been moving through. But what if I get judged? So we often stop ourselves because of the fear of judgment. There is a part of the brain that registers social rejection. It actually lights up the same way that physical pain does. So fear of judgment is literally felt as pain. understanding that can be really powerful because you're not feeling weak for worrying about judgment. You're, in a sense, wired to do that, but it's still important that we take steps to move through that. So how do I get past this? How do I move through my fears? Well, the first thing is I know that they're normal. I don't shame myself for having them. Let's take the example of me being seen and sharing my opinions. How I build confidence in this area is I titrate in small bits, meaning I might share a little opinion here or there, and then I might test out something else, and then I might start by not having my face to camera, and then over time I've built this capacity to be seen. So slowly through the reps, I've realized that I can build tolerance, and I've learned with time that my voice is actually something that people need to hear. So it happens in stages. And I think in New Zealand, especially Australia, I know there's people listening from all over, but in New Zealand, we have this thing called tall poppy syndrome. Instead of celebrating the confidence that somebody has developed, there is this idea that if you shine too brightly or you like yourself too much or you've put in the hard effort, people get uncomfortable. It's such a weird one. It's actually not about the person with confidence. It's about the people judging that person, their own insecurities, their own automatic comparisons. Confidence is only celebrated up until a point. We really need to get past this mentality because there are so many benefits of becoming confident. And yes, there are people that are overly confident and they've kind of taken it to the extreme, but it's not self-aware people, because self-aware people, I actually have realized that they lack the most confidence because their brains are so switched on that they can see all the things that could go wrong. They anticipate all the risks. They think about every possible failure, every person that might judge them. It's a self-awareness trap, right? Like, you know too much. It's actually quite counterintuitive, and I've definitely been caught in that trap before because it can make you paralyze your action. It can make you mask your confidence as a way to make others around you feel safe and as a way to not be seen, even though your insight is exactly what could give you the power if you lean into it. You know, someone once told me, and I've actually been told this multiple times, but more in the past, people half as talented as you are doing the thing because they have courage. That's the difference. And I used to find it really hard to watch people take action, start something, do something, when I knew inside of me I had so much to share, or like, let's take the work context, but I was too scared to take the next step. So someone out there listening, I'm sure, needs to hear that quote. The difference between two people is one has courage, even if they haven't got as much talent. I want you to ask yourself, what is the actual cost of playing small? What is the actual cost of not taking the next step forward? Because if you don't move, somebody else could take the opportunity that was actually meant for you. It was meant for you all along. But you've got to be in the arena, right? If you've got a little burning desire or a pull towards something, there is a reason why. I truly believe that you have to have the audacity to believe in yourself when nobody else will. You have to move on it immediately before the questions start, before all the sensible reasons kick in as to why it's not the right time. That spark is your intuition. And every time you act on your intuition, you build trust with yourself. One thing I have definitely learned over the last 5 years is you cannot wait for reality to validate your decision first. You cannot wait for other people to validate your decision first. That validation comes after the action. For the last few years, like, I have literally, and sometimes I feel like I haven't really given the weight of what I've had to move through on this podcast, because it's not all about my personal life, but I have literally had to claw myself forward with no external validation, no guarantee, at times no money, no support, just me deciding my goals were worth it. And I'm still in that process, right? Like, I'm still working towards my goals, but the vision I'm creating is happening even though there could have been lots of times where evidence was showing me that it wasn't possible. I chose to focus on the fact that it is possible and that I will create the life that I desire. Of course, there's been times where I'm like, what's the point? What's the point of putting in all the reps? That could be in a work context, could be in a physical context. Sometimes my clients say, what's the point in putting all these reps in of training the nervous system if I haven't yet seen the result? That is the exact time you need to remember your why you are showing up in a new way. Because as soon as you remember your why, it becomes easier to take the action. I see people holding themselves back, not because they're lazy. It's not because they don't want it enough. It's just because they've forgotten their why. When we forget our why, we start getting into, I couldn't do that because I don't have enough, because I'm not ready, because if that self-talk happens over time, that turns into long-term anxiety that hijacks your ability to take action before you even realize it's happening. It makes you overestimate the pain of showing up, of starting, of being seen, of possibly being judged, and you compare that to playing small and staying safe. That is what feels easier. Some might call me a bit delusional, but I truly believe, like, if you put the reps in, if you continue to take action, if you're signaling, I am moving forward towards this goal, the universe, God, whoever will meet you halfway. And that is that sweet spot between taking action and surrendering to the process. That is where things happen. And that is where confidence is built. The next point that I think about when it comes to confidence, you've got to get used to failure. Confidence isn't just about being good at something. It's also about handling failure, handling uncertainty and discomfort. I met a person a few weeks ago who was telling me about starting their own business. They launched a program and it didn't get much traction and they had to pull the pin when they really poured all of their energy into it. I have been there before and it sucks. But my first thing that I said to this person was, congrats on failing, because most people don't actually have the courage to take action and to start. And, we tend to see failure as a bad thing. Like, it's proof that we're not good enough. But we need to reframe this if we want to develop confidence, because I truly believe that your ability to withstand failure is one of the greatest gifts you can have. Confidence isn't about never failing. It's about knowing you can handle what comes next. And it's built in the moments where things don't go to plan, which is really hard because a lot of us are like really want things to be certain and, our brains like control. So like I said, when I first started my business, and actually now it still comes up, there have been many times where I have tried something and it hasn't gone to plan, or a failure or rejection. When I first came back to Christchurch after being away, I was so motivated. I went around all the physios, all the chiropractors. I sent out emails and pamphlets and did so much to try and network and get my services out there to people who needed it. And I got one reply. And at the time, because I hadn't built that muscle of confidence and my relationship to failure, I used to see it quite differently. What happened back then is I would internalize all of that shame and embarrassment and rejection and beat myself up. Oh man, you're just not good at what you do. No one wants your services. All the stuff would come up, right? But now what I've learned after multiple, I'm doing air quotes here, rejections or failures, I do my best. Yes, I'm human, but I do my best to use it as data, because I used to get so involved with the feeling. And as someone who is quite emotional, that was quite easy for me to really make it a big feeling about me. But now I use it as data more objectively, and I see failures as a point of pivoting. What can I do to pivot? How can I use this data to change things? Think about all the failures that we can go through in life. Trying a new relationship or letting someone in only to have it not work out. Starting a new exercise routine and then not hitting your goals. There's so many ways in which we don't get the result that we had hoped for. What it ultimately led me to really understanding and honing in on is controlling your attention. Because where you focus your mental energy matters so much for confidence. I realized the older I get, there have been many old replaying scripts that were just handed down to me through parents and different things that were making me show up in a way that I wanted to be approved, where I would doubt my confidence, not take action, think I was flaky. I actually even had a belief that I was inconsistent for a while. And I had to challenge a lot of these old scripts. But also in terms of controlling your attention, again, it's like what the brain is looking for, it's going to find more evidence of. So am I going to look at that failure and think, that's it, that's my sign to stop? Or am I going to shift that and think, maybe there's a different opportunity in another direction? Maybe if I change this, this will be a better way to go. So directing your attention towards opportunities, solutions, and what you can influence, that's the key word there, feel that sense of influence, it really helps shift the brain away from threat and worry. Something that really helps me when I'm having a hard day or I feel like nothing's working or something hasn't worked out again, I remind myself that if it was this easy, everyone would be doing this, right? It's the same with someone who has like a really sculpted body. If it was that easy, we'd all be out there doing that. I admire people that get to that level, but I personally don't have the willpower in that area. So if it was that easy, everyone would be doing this. If a goal was that easy, everyone would be doing it. Sometimes life is not easy. Sometimes getting what we want is not easy. The other thing I remember in terms of failures is maybe there's more learnings to come before I get what I want. What if this is teaching me to hold more capacity for challenges and discomfort before I actually get the thing I want? Sometimes the thing you actually want, you're not ready for it. And sometimes there's a lesson that you have to learn first before you get it. The ability to keep moving forward, even if you don't know how long something will take, that is what builds confidence. And this is where I think a lot of us go wrong. If you avoid normal challenges, that is what reduces confidence. So challenge is good. And that leads me nicely into point number 3 around confidence. Don't get caught up on immediate rewards. We live in a society now that rewards instant gratification, right? People go viral overnight. We can manipulate our bodies to have an image very easily, especially if you've got money. Quick wins, easy dopamine, things that feel good with almost no effort. The problem is when your brain is used to only getting dopamine from easy wins, it starts asking, why work hard when I can feel good now? Confidence works differently because it's more like compound interest. So one small success increases the likelihood of future successes. Those early wins that you get, they boost dopamine, making you sharper, more motivated, and more likely to take action again. So it's like a cycle. So neuroscience actually shows us that when you consistently show up for what's hard, your brain starts to release dopamine from the effort itself, not just from the reward. So motivation becomes internal. And over time, again, going back to what I said at the start, you train your nervous system to tolerate that discomfort. So for example, like training for a marathon, again, major respect for people that do that. If you're listening, I am in awe of people that do marathons. The first few runs, I can imagine, feel very exhausting, probably quite unpleasant. But by showing up repetitively, your brain begins to associate effort with progress and achievement. So it becomes easier to do the runs. I know when I'm putting in consistency at the gym, I find that the sessions become more enjoyable. And I get that reward by just going. Rather than working towards a specific goal, I actually feel the reward in the process. And when I don't go to the gym consistently, I lose that feeling. And the last point I want to make about confidence today is confidence is embodied. We don't want to just think about it, we want to be about it. Confidence is a being state. There is this model called have, do, be, and I find it really interesting. So a lot of people think that we have to have first, which is I need to feel confident before I, let's say, talk to new people. And the thought around that would be once I feel likable or once I don't know, look a certain way, I'll start networking. Then the do, which is then I'll introduce myself. Then I'll start conversations. Then I'll connect. And that finally leads to the be. If people respond positively or I make connections, then I'll be confident. Then I'll be the type of person who's socially confident and charismatic. So confidence is always dependent on the external validation. It never really feels natural. So have, do, be is a formula that a lot of people live by. When we are practicing being embodied and stepping into that future version of ourselves, It actually works the other way. So we start with the B. You step into the version of yourself first that is capable and confident. You choose the state you want to embody. So if we take the networking example, you be the person who is approachable and generally interested in others. How are they being in their body? They're open, they are smiling, they're relaxed in their body. And then you take the aligned actions, even if they feel fake at first. So the do in this would be asking open-ended questions, listening actively. And then the have, which is actually the last piece, that is where the results and the recognition and the confidence follow naturally. Because you then have people engaging with you, confidence flows, and you feel naturally confident in these social settings. So you actually set yourself up first to think about the state that you want to be in, the state of a confident person. And this is why nervous system work is so important, because your body has to be on board. When your nervous system is in fight, flight, or freeze, your brain might know you can handle it, you can take action, but your body is saying no. So any practices that help you regulate your nervous system, bring you back to center, open your body up, change your stance, shift your energy, these are really important when it comes to confidence. Confidence grows when your body feels safe to act. And there's a bit of neuroscience here actually. Every time you act confidently, even before you feel it, which is why I love mirror work, changing and playing with your stance in the mirror, the way you hold your body, which is why I love breath practices. When you practice these consistently before you take action, your brain gets a tiny dopamine hit and it actually starts expecting success. So anything you're choosing to build confidence in, I want you to think about the type of person that is naturally confident in that area. How do they look? What beliefs do they have? What mindset do they have? How is their body when they're doing the thing? Because that really helps us step into that version, to be that version, that confident person. I used to think that confidence was all about big actions and being loud and being the most extroverted person in the room. And that's just not my energy. Like, I realized it was quite a relief, really, when I realized it doesn't come down to that at all. Confidence isn't about being the loudest or the best person in the room. It's about how much you naturally allow yourself to be you. So it's finding that unique energy about you and really owning that. Because your confidence comes from authenticity. It comes from knowing who you are and not letting anyone else define you. If you guys listened to that episode I did a few weeks ago with Jacqueline Mitchell, the psychic mentor, she really reiterated, is a nice way to put it, to me at the end, that conviction is the most important part, because conviction brings a sense of trust and confidence. You can really believe in something you do, but if you're not bringing and being in the state of confidence and conviction, it's not going to land as well as it could. So maybe someone else out there needs to hear that. It's about owning who you are. Okay, guys, so as we wrap up, there's two things I want you to think about as we leave. I want you to first think about where you are already confident in your life, what areas, because you'll absolutely be confident and so skillful in some areas of your life. For me personally, it's not marathons and it's not running, but I'm getting better at podcasting. I'm confident in my work. I'm confident in relationships. So we can take that energy of where we are confident and really sit with that and think about how you can transfer some of that energy into other areas, taking action, building momentum. I think it's just a really nice thing to really give ourselves credit as to where we have honed in a particular area and feel really good about it. My teacher, Dr. Phil Parker, he used to say you could be confident at tying up your shoelaces. Like, that is confidence. You've done it so many times that it's a natural skill. You've got it mastered. So think about the areas in which you are already confident and celebrate them. And then set a specific goal that pushes you slightly outside of your comfort zone and just take one step towards it this week. That is where we start. Getting into action. It is the way, it is the path. And I'm out there doing it with you guys because I am going to take myself to the gym after this. and get back into it. Okay, everyone, thank you for listening in. Again, taking time out of your precious day. I have also put the link to buy me a coffee in the show notes. That is the website where you can donate a small amount to me, as much or as little as you like, simply the amount of a coffee, so I can grow this podcast, so I can expand this podcast and improve it for you guys. Any support is greatly appreciated. Thank you all so much for listening again. I hope you have a stunning week, and I'll see you on the next episode.